So knowing that you're going to essentially lose everybody or could lose people, how do you like deal with that?
So, I mean, you just really gotta go for it, and it is what it is. I mean, you can theorize over who's going to stick with you and who you're going to lose. And I definitely did lose a bunch of people that I was really close to because like they didn't understand or it wasn't part of their belief system or, you know, what have you. But that's just the reality of the game, unfortunately. So like you're going to ruminate on it and you're going to kind of, I mean, it's like anything else that's hard. You're not going to want to do it. But once you do, you just kind of got to deal with whatever it is. So it's really about just taking the time to gather yourself and the people that you know are going to be supportive of you no matter what. I would say go to them first. So that way you have a support network before trying to reach out to the people that you think are not going to be as receptive. So it's a little bit of strategically going for what you think is going to be the healthiest for you. But then as far as the fallout, it's just going to be what it is. And you can try to minimize it. You can try to reduce it. But you don't really have any real control over what people think about you and your decisions. So it just is what it is.
So a person like me, I tend to be on the line a bit. Because you brought up religion. On one hand, there's my religion, and this is how I grew up. This is what the preacher said and what is interpreted from the Bible, right? And then on the other hand, I'm like, this is real life. I'm not saying for my religious people, I'm not saying that the Bible's not real life. I am a 100% believer here. But when I have friends like Chae and a slew of other people who are LGBTQ, right? Yeah. It's hard for me to just cut that off for religious purposes. Like, I know what my beliefs are, but I also believe that everybody should be able to be who they are and who they feel like they need to be or they want to be. So how do you handle like friends who still want to be friends with you, but on Facebook, they're going to pop a Bible verse or share
not the Bible verse
or share the preacher at the mega church that's really negative against the LGBTQ community?
I mean, just like any other community, the Christian community or the Muslim community or the Jewish community, none of them are monoliths, right? So like, I definitely have tons of Christian friends still. And if they pop a Bible verse up on social media, like that doesn't have anything to do with me. But if they're using whatever their scripture is to justify oppression of any group of people, then that's where there's an issue. But I grew up in the church. I've been to the mega churches, you know what I mean? I grew up in them. So I get it, and I don't hold any hate for that generally. I mean, there's tons of things in scripture that you can learn and lessons to make yourself a better person, but there are also people that will use those same scriptures to hate people. So it just depends on where you as a person fall in line with your scripture. And the people that I keep around me, there's a reason that they're still around me.
Good answer, good answer. Like, in my head, that's what was going on.
Oh my God.
Novacaine, you have any questions or anything to add to that?
I really liked what you said there. Like, basically, whoever accepts you for you, you know. I feel like that goes across the board, though. Like, whether you trans or not, whether you gay, bisexual, straight, whatever. You don't want to be around people that's going to accept you for you, because you don't want that negative energy around. There was something I wanted to ask, and I think I forgot already. I didn't write any questions down. I didn't pre-plan this. Like,
It's all
was like,
good.
yeah, Chae is ready now, and I was like, okay.
Listen,
Well,
I tapped her like months ago in the last season for this, and it just never lined up to a perfect time. And because of our first episode, I was like, I gotta get her on this time. I needed her perspective for the general conversation.
Okay, so now I remember what I was gonna.
Hey, there it is. It came back.
I was sitting there thinking. I don't know if you saw my eyes starting. Okay, so going all the way back to what you were talking about, like when you did have a wife and everything. When did you realize that you were trans? Like, what made you decide to just take that leap? Because I'm pretty sure for a very long time that you weren't trans, and then you had a wife. So were you straight at that time, or bisexual, or did you not have a label? Like, how did the steps go? Because I don't understand transsexuality. I've never actually had a conversation with a trans person because I was always perceived to be a transphobic person because of my views. I never said I hated trans people. I just said I don't understand. And no one wanted to sit here and actually take their time and help a sister out. So, since you're here
let me do that for you
tonight. Since you're here on this show tonight, like, I really want to know, like, what were the steps that, you decided that this is not the life you wanted to live anymore?
Bet. I'm so glad you asked, because I think this is like a fundamental misunderstanding of trans people. I think the perception of trans people is that we decide to become trans one day, whereas it's more like being gay or straight. You don't really choose, you just kind of are who you are. Okay. Like, I have never found men attractive ever in my life. And I've been approached by so many men, and every time I'm just like, sorry, homie, like, I don't feel nothing towards you. I've been attracted to women my whole life. And I know that's the same for many other people. It's not like, if you're gay, you just decide to become gay one day, right?
Right.
It's the same thing for trans people. Trans people are trans. The difference is that you're born into a body with expectations. Whether you're born with a female body or a male body, there's expectations placed upon your body from birth, right? So if you're a trans person, you have these expectations your whole life, and people are telling you, you're supposed to be this way, you're supposed to be this way, you're supposed to be this way. So I didn't realize that I was trans until I was 25. Because at that point, I had been kicking people in the face for a living for 7 years. So my perception was like, I'm supposed to be this tough macho dude. But I was deeply, deeply depressed. And that's the reason why so many trans people are depressed so often. I think like the statistics for suicide on trans people is like 3 or 4 times higher than their cis counterparts. And it's because like any real person knows trying to pretend to be someone else for any amount of time, super depressing. But when you extend that to your entire life, that's a miserable existence. So it takes time to do some introspection into like, okay, well, these are my expectations. Do I feel like these expectations are actually me? Or am I just trying to live up to these expectations because that's what I've been told to do?
Alright, Space Gang. That's our show for today.
Did we miss anything? Let us know in the comments below or wherever you're listening to us.
Do us a favor and head over to www.thebkspadeshow.com. That's space with a Z. You can get all the blogs, the audio, the video, and some really cool merch.
And if you're listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, leave us that 5-star rating, and YouTube. Like, comment, share, and subscribe
to the BK Spadez Show, where society meets pop culture. I am your host, the BK Spadez, here with my very lovely co-host,
Novacaine, baby.
Alright, Spadez Gang, thanks for tuning in.